Welcome everyone to our first virtual Zoom annual conference, a conference we usually have every year in Washington. Can someone please mute their phones? Okay, are we ready? Since the beginning of this year, we have seen the world significantly change all around us. We welcome all of you to our first virtual National Alliance of HUD Tenants conference. Thank each of you for joining us today. And we could not have made this possible without you. And we greatly appreciate each and every one of you being here today. So we're going to move on to the, if you notice in your package, there's a statement about George Floyd, I'm sorry. The young man that said he could not breathe for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And in recent weeks, looking at the killing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, and Trayvon Martin, just to name a few, and the unsurmountable acts of racism that has taken place in America every day. We must find ways to contribute however we can and to move forward as a community, because we cannot remain silent about the injustice. It is unacceptable, and we have to stand up and speak out. I quote the words of Dr. Martin Luther King: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and the time is always right to do what is right." So we have, as a nation, let us rise up. No more silence, and do the right thing. So I'm going to move on to Deborah Arnold, our VP of the South, and she will introduce our next speaker. Deborah? Is Deborah on? David? Hello? Someone talk back to me, please.
I don't see that she is.
I don't see her either, Jerry.
Okay. So we're going to move on to Eleanor. Is Eleanor on?
Yes, Eleanor is on.
Okay, Eleanor. Could you unmute yourself, please?
She's here.
Oh, God.
Hold on a second. She's here.
We're going to have an inspirational song that we normally do at our NAHT conference. And Eleanor is about to lead us into the song. And you just listen to the words and try to join along. Go ahead, Eleanor.
Is it on?
Well, just a minute.
Okay. I'm sorry, while Eleanor is doing that, I did not introduce myself. My name is Geraldine Collins, and I am the NAHT Board President.
This is Gary. Eleanor, you need to unmute yourself.
She'll be there in just a second, Gary. Sorry about the delay.
Okay, and while Eleanor is getting prepared, I'd like to introduce the board members. Charlotte
Rogers, Meta Everest Tenant Association President and the National Alliance of HUD Tenant Vice President for the East. Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Vanessa Trahan. Vanessa?
Unmute yourself.
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. My name is Vanessa Trahan. I'm the treasurer of the NAHT Board. I'm the president of the Morningside Heights Multicultural Tenants Organization. And That's it. That's it.
Okay. Tara Madison.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tara Madison. I'm a board member representing Region 5 and a member of the Grove Park Tenant Association. And welcome.
David Nolan.
I'm David Norman. I'm the secretary of the National Alliance of HUD Tenants on the board of directors. I am also a member of the Massachusetts Alliance of HUD Tenants, and I'm on the steering committee of my building, the Forbes building in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts.
Okay, Deborah Arnold of Atlanta.
I don't think she's on yet.
Still not on. Okay, we're gonna go back to Eleanor. Are you ready for us, Eleanor? By the way, Deborah Arnold is our vice president of the South.
You also have Margaret.
I'm sorry, Margaret. Margaret, could you introduce yourself?
Margaret Arnault, Met Union Manor in Boston, NAHT Board member and Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants Board member. Morning and welcome. Afternoon, welcome.
So as you've been listening, we have board members in different regions, and the regions, it represents the state in which the board member lives in, and that area which surrounds that that region. So, Eleanor, you ready?
Yeah, now.
Okay.
I don't know.
1 second.
Yolanda is also on. Geraldine.
Yes, I am on. I'm just going to rename Yolanda Rivers.
No, Yolanda.
I'm on that board.
Michael.
Yolanda,
Can you hear me? Yolanda Butler.
Yolanda Butler.
Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yolanda, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Yolanda.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. My name is Yolanda Butler. I am Asbury Plaza president of the Tenants Association. I'm also on the EP of Region of North, Region 5. Hello, everyone. Hello to everyone.
Hello.
That's the person. You see?
Where?
See,
Oh,
there you
okay.
are. Now you're speaking. Now you can sing and say hi to everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Eleanor.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Kayla and I will sing.
Yeah.
Soon and very soon, we are going to change this world. Soon and very soon, we are going to change this world.
Hallelujah.
Soon and very soon, we are going to change this world. Forever and ever, we're going to change this world. No more homelessness. We are going to change this world. No more homelessness. We are
going to change this world.
No more homelessness. We are going to change this world. Forever and ever, we're going to change the world. Soon and very soon, we are going to change the world. Soon and very soon, we are going to change the world. Very soon, we are going to change the world. Forever and ever, we're going to change this world. Hey, all right, that's. It's 9 o'clock in the morning on my side of the world.
Thank you, Eleanor, for that.
Yes, thank you.
Is the Reverend Parker Dania on from Atlanta, Georgia? You're on?
It says reply. I'll show you. Chat, it's in the chat.
Reverend Parker, are you on?
Yes, I am. I am here.
Invocation, please.
Oh, great and mighty God of all creation, all men, all tongues, all cultures, all creeds, we honor you, most divine and holy one. We invite you, we ask you to come in, be with us. Let peace one toward another be in the midst of all things that all men do for this national conference. Help that strength comes to those who are weak in spirit, in mind, and emotion. Let their calm and the grace of God rest upon them as you have divinely orchestrated even this event, that we can come together with the motive and the agenda to make housing available and to bid on others' behalf. Let our minds consider, what if we were without? What would God do to provide? For you, O holy God, has given all things for all men to prosper, to be in health, that our soul prosper, that there is no lack. And help us that we intellectually, in our minds, would consider and imagine what is necessary. And we ask you, Almighty God, to let there be forgiveness one toward another. Help us to look to our neighbor and repent for any disheartening or words that were said that were unkind and lacked love. Help us to repent to our area and our cities, that we would now pursue peace and justice and grace one toward another. Help us that we're mindful that what is done here set a precedent throughout the nation and the world to bring and administer peace, love, and kindness. We pray now in the God of all creation, help, strength, and abide, that the truth of our Sephirah, the truth of our being, administer what is needed for these times and all people, and let their heart be full with kindness, with compassion, with consideration one toward another. In the precious name of God our Father, we pray, and through his Son, this prayer be sealed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend, for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, we just want to give, this is our 26th annual conference. First by Zoom, as I said earlier. And I'd just like to give a shout out to some of our new members across the states. Atlanta, Chicago, Minnesota, Arkansas, New York.
Woo!
Yes.
They're all in the house.
Everyone's in the house?
That's right, they're all in the house.
Or anywhere else that I did not call your name and you're a new member of NAHT, we welcome you. And we're going to move on to the next issue that we're going to start with. And we're going to start with just a little thing I need to say to you guys. And we'll move on right quick. These are unprecedented times. The U.S. is facing 3 interrelated crises. The worst global pandemic in 100 years. The worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. And the related pandemic of institutionalized violence against people of color. COVID has exposed the fault lines of institutionalized racism and economic inequality as never before. But a powerful mass anti-racist movement in the wake of the George Floyd murder gives us hope for the future. Conference theme, Beyond COVID, Toward a Future Housing for All. Our guest later this morning will speak of how tenants can organize now in alliance with other movements to fight for just and anti-racist future. from the ashes of the COVID crisis. We welcome all of our special guests to this panel. We have Deborah Weinstein from the Coalition of Human Needs, and she's under the national umbrella of all organizations and network fighting for low-income people in the healthcare, food, housing, jobs, and human service field. We will introduce everyone properly later. And we also have the Reverend Graylin Hagler of the Poor People's Campaign from Washington, D.C. And our very own in New York City, Rob Robinson, Partners for Dignity in New York City. And Glenn Robbins, our guy from the UK. Glenn, are you on? Is he on? Well, anyway, we will introduce them properly later. When that hit, millions lost their jobs and their incomes. Congress passed the CARES Act in response. The CARES Act provided $3 trillion of relief and a national eviction moratorium in federal housing. NAHT got out flyers in 4 languages to tenants about their rights under COVID. We did a webinar on the same topic and got HUD to put out brochures in multiple languages. We're holding a workshop later tomorrow at 3 p.m., Tenants' Rights Under COVID. NAHT got HUD to clarify that the $1,200 that a lot of people was unsure about, the $1,200 and the $600 to be excluded from anyone that was living in Section 8 housing. People were confused for a moment. They thought that they would have to file that and rent would go up. But we got HUD to exclude that amount of money, and they would not have to claim that when they recertify or in interim lease or whatever. Overall, HUD tenants has been relatively safe from evictions. As a result, our brothers and sisters living in private market housing are not so fortunate. Today, we honor local NAHT groups who stepped up to save their homes and fight mass evictions. And this is the awards category. And this first award is going to the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco for organizing creative car caravans to mobilize tenants to fight mass displacement and cancel rent. I'd like to call on Fred Serban Zimmer and Maria Zamundio to speak on behalf of this award.
Yay! Woohoo!
Congratulations! Let's congratulate
Yay!
everyone.
Woohoo!
Would you like to say something, Maria?
Sure. Just wanted to say thank you for the recognition. We learned so much about what is possible in housing organizing by being a part of the National Alliance of HUD Tenants. We do private and public housing organizing, subsidized housing organizing, and so much of the issues in our private housing work are things that HUD tenants have won so many years ago, and now we're protecting, and so that gives us a lot of hope. That gives us something to strive for, and it also shows us the kind of world that we can build where housing is a human right. So thank you all for teaching us so much and for recognizing us.
Okay, so we're moving on to the second award goes to the Housing Justice League in Atlanta, Georgia, for their creative job, for their creativity of no jobs, no pay, no rent campaign. I'd like to call on Alicia Johnson and Deborah Arnold.
Well, Allison, that would be me.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, everybody.
Would you like to say something, accept this award?
Yeah, so thank you. we'd like to accept this award on behalf of everybody that has always been in existence with you all, especially the tenants from Wheat Street, Mr. Cowley, Della, the other tenants from Capitol View, Yassine and Franklin, and everybody who has put in the hard work to get some things done and to get policies and everything changed and turned around to best benefit the people who are living in such conditions and who are trying to change these conditions. And Latrice, I'm not going to forget you and the continued support and work that you are giving to one of our housing communities here in Atlanta, Forest Cove. We are continue to be in partnership with you all. And again, we are just really, really grateful to have you all as a partner, and we do accept this award.
Hey, how's the Justice League?
Okay. This next award is going to none other than the New York Tenant and Neighbors. And this is a group award for organizing a creative statewide campaign to mobilize tenants against mass displacement. I'd like to call on Yolande Kaddour and Zarina Cox.
Yay!
Yay! Let's congratulate everyone.
Woo! Thank you, everybody, for this award and for our long and fruitful partnership with the National Alliance of HUD Tenants. We look forward to continuing our work, our ongoing work with NAHT in the coming years. And I'm not sure if my colleague Ali is on, but Ali really was our lead organizer with our members in really pushing for a lot of the statewide and citywide wins that we've had in the last couple of months, including the eviction moratorium, the statewide eviction moratorium, and more recently the New York City Rent Guidelines Board vote to have a rent freeze for the coming year. So thank you again. Thank you to our board member, Charlotte Rogers, and to Vanessa and to Jerry for all of your support. And are you on, Ari?
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, so, thank you for all your hard work. And, do you have a second to just say, a minute about the work?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Rent Justice Coalition, which is a group of organizations and their members, tenants in New York City, who each year push the Rent Guidelines Board for a rent freeze or a rent rollback. And it was a monumental win for us. Even though we didn't get the rollback, we did get a 1-year freeze, 0% increase for 1-year leases, and for 2-year leases, we got a 0% increase for the first year and a 1% for the second year, which hasn't been done before. And also a shout out to our members for testifying and, being the backbone of our organization and our work. So thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nat.
Thank you. And the last section of my award is going to the Arkansas Community Organization in Little Rock, Arkansas. And this is for organizing a creative pots and pan campaign to mobilize tenants against mass displacement. See, in the midst of all this virtual stuff, we're coming up with a lot of great ways in order to organize. And I love this. Is anyone here from the Neil Seeley? From the ACO?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for that. We are still at it, and we're door knocking, and we'll do future actions to try to get relief and defend renters who are threatened by evictions. In Arkansas, they have 3 ways to evict you, and it's pretty bad, and we need to get the laws changed as well. And we're proud to be working with the National Association of HUD Tenants.
Thank you so much, Neil. We're glad to be working with you also. I'm going to turn this next section over to Eleanor Walden and Charlotte Rogers.
Okay.
Eleanor?
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay, you ready?
What are we doing?
Okay, you want Charlotte to take it off?
Yes, please.
Charlotte, would you
Yes, thank you. On Wednesday, July the 1st, the rent is due for 48 million tenants. Of these, more than 20 million are unable to make payments because they have lost their jobs and income. Temporary unemployment insurance from the CARES Act runs out in July 26th, along with the federal eviction moratorium. A assessment of mass eviction is coming up in July and August as landlords try to collect the rent the tenants cannot afford. In response, the U.S. House has passed the HERO Act, which include $100 billion for emergency renter relief. If passed, this would pay the rent for tenants who cannot afford it and keep people in their home. But Republicans in the Senate has blocked action on this bill. Unless in Congress acts, 10 million of people will be out in the street in a few short weeks. NAHT has joined the national coalition fighting for these funds. Today, we honor the NAHT affiliates that have fought for legislation to fund $100 billion for renter relief. And my first people I'm calling up is the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants from Boston. And I want to, they lobbied with Massachusetts congressional leaders, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, and Housing Rules Committee Chair Jim McGovern. And I would like to give them this award. The National Alliance of HUD Tenants will give this group awards to the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants for organization and sign-on letter that helps secure MAT congressional support for $100 billion rentals fund. David Noman, Rhonda Jackson, Janice McQuarrie to come up and ask to speak, please. Just tell us how you did this. Hi, William.
Yay, Massachusetts.
Yeah, come on
Massachusetts in the house. Massachusetts. Patriots.
Linda and Janice. Linda.
That's right. We're in the
Miss
house.
David. Who wants to say a few words?
David.
I tell you.
Sorry.
David, where are you?
Here he is.
I'm here. I just want to say this is a testament to what happens when you keep trying. I've been at this for 8 years, and this kind of thing, $100 billion for a renters fund, is not something that we ever would have pictured getting when I first started. But I also want to give a shout out. You know, I'm on the board, so it was easy for me to be the guy who spoke. There are people who did a lot more work on this than I did. The one that you just heard enthusiastically shouting, I knew the voice right away. It was Rhonda Jackson.
Rhonda.
Hi, everybody. Yeah.
Hi, Rhonda.
This was a long.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations to everybody who is doing the same hard work. It's not easy. You have to keep persevering because believe me, I did not think that I would live to see this bill passed. We would go up and we would get knocked down, but we'd go back and we'd go back. And this is something that I am just so proud of, to be able to help people in my community be able to have a home. You know, I started out trying to save my own home. It didn't work, but I'm still doing the work. So we're all in the same boat, so we just have to keep pushing. We can't stop. We just have to keep pushing, like everyone was saying. We're going around helping each other. A lot of the credit goes out to Michael because he pushes us, and we get up there, we go to the city hall, and we were asked to come up with ideas on how to pay for it, and we come back with these ideas, and they'd still knock us down, but finally it went through for whatever reason, and I'm just very proud, and thank you everybody for the recognition. Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Also, we have 3 more groups that lobbied Senator Schumer, and the first group is New York's Tenants and Neighbors, Greater Syracuse Tenant Network. I have 3 awards for 3 different organizations. Impact Brooklyn.
Yay.
And the award reads for an organization sign-on letter that helps secure Senator Schumer support for $100 billion rental fund. So this award is for the 3 New York groups: New York Tenants and Neighbors, Greater Syracuse New York Network, Upstate New York, and Impact of Brooklyn. Yolanda Kador, Sharon Sherman, and Craig Collins.
Yeah.
Yay.
Hello.
No New York in the house.
Hello. Yeah,
I'm from Syracuse, and I want to acknowledge that Cindy Bettadeno, one of our board members from the Greater Syracuse Tenants Network, is on the call. And anything we can do to show Senator Schumer that there are upstate New York tenants who are concerned about these issues, I think really helps to get the point across. And hi to John Herman, who is our always volunteer tenant organizer. Thanks.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yes. I also have 5 other groups that has been lobbying for Republican senators, and that they are the Texas Tenant Union, Cordova Courts TA, Arkansas Community Organizations, Tenant Union of Washington State and Spokane, Housing Justice Legal Alliance of Georgia. These are separate awards. So I'm starting with Texas Tenant Union.
Andy Rollins.
Texas Tenant Union.
I think Alice is on the phone too. So
Okay.
I want to thank NAHT, the National Alliance of HUD Tenants, and the other organizations that did sign on letters and provided us with a template that we could use in our state. And so we circulated it fairly quickly, trying to get it in before the House took this up in early May. It has passed the House. It has not yet passed the Senate. We have yet to get our senators' support on this, but we're still working on it. This morning on our Facebook page and on our Twitter page, we've included how tenants can send individual letters in support of this, because evictions are happening now in most Texas counties and in a whole lot of the country. And if they're, if the property's not covered by the CARES Act, then people can be put in the street now, next week.
Yes. Right.
So we really need to keep working to get this through. And again, I appreciate the National Alliance of HUD Tenants help and encouragement, to get the Senate on board as well. Thanks.
Thank
and
you.
Ellen, you have it.
And before Shalonda Rivers, if she want to say a word, so I would like to, I didn't read the award, what the award says. For a model organization, sign on letter to Republican legislators to support $100 billion for emergency rental assistance. So Shalonda Rivers, do you want to say something?
Okay, I will be passing this on to the new group, Miami Gardens Village Tenant Association. Jennifer Mercedes will be speaking for day reward. Thank you.
Okay, to speak briefly.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Before all, I want to be saying, guys, thank you for taking your time and, forming this. To all of you guys that actually started this, I would have never thought that I would be here 15 years later. I have great, wonderful friends that were the ones that initiated this 15 years ago, which they have passed, which is Miss Sarah and Miss Joyce. And that's my Miami Guardians Village. For me, it's an honor and a privilege to be in my first meeting with you guys. And I really want to thank you for opening the door as well, as we're trying to make a change in our community as well.
Thank you. Arkansas Community Organization would like to.
Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. So I kind of went over it a lot. But yeah, I have my friends. They're the ones. And I was a kid. I was 15 years old. And look at me 15 years later. I feel like I'm taking on the vision that they had that I did not even see when I was a child that I would be doing. So, for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be part of you guys.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Arkansas Community Organization would like to say a few brief words, please.
Yeah, thank you all for the template, and we were able to get 6 organizations to sign on, and we've got probably one of the craziest senators, Tom Cotton, but sometimes you can talk to him, and so we will continue to put the pressure on him.
That's the work. Tenant Union of Washington State, Spokane. You'd like to say a few words, please? Anyone here from Washington? Okay, we're moving right along to Housing Justice Legend from Atlanta. You'd like to say a few words? Anyone?
Yes, we're glad to be a part of advocating for the $1 billion for emergency rental assistance. I got response from Republicans that was giving us trouble, and they went ahead and responded, and I'm grateful for that. And thank you very much for this award.
Very welcome. Now I turn this back over to Geraldine Collins, our president of organization.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And I think we can do better than that. Come on, everybody. Let's give everybody a hand of applause.
Amen on all of it.
Congratulations. Okay, the voice that you just heard is the last member of the board member that was not present earlier. Deborah, you'd like to introduce yourself right quick?
Yes, my name is Deborah Arnold.
Breaking up.
A member of Housing Justice League in Atlanta, Georgia. It's been a great honor to serve on a NAHT board this year. A lot of things have been accomplished, a lot of things I've learned, and I'm very glad to be here, and thank all of you for coming out.
Thank you, Deborah.
Good job.
Now, on another note, there's a whole lot going on now that would have been unthinkable just a few short months ago. Even before COVID, several presidential campaigns proposed bold platforms to provide universal vouchers and rent control and build 10 million new homes. NAHT developed our own platform for the 2020 elections. In your registration folder, you'll see that information. As millions face displacement, Congress is under increasing pressure to act now to prevent mass displacement. We have a workshop tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. where the National Low Income Housing Coalition will explain more about urgent legislation on Capitol Hill. On Wednesday, we will meet with Representative Rashida Tlaib from Michigan and Representative Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts to discuss how we can strengthen this effort. And I'm going to turn this part of the conference along to Deborah Arnold.
Fighting substandard housing NAHT's Tenant Empowerment Bill. Besides fighting for renters' assistance, NAHT has also helped tenants expose a growth epidemic of dangerous housing conditions in HUD housing, such as toxic mold, carbon monoxide, rats, and bed bugs. Too often, HUD's Real Estate Assessment Center, known as REACT, has failed to detect these threats. National news stories have pursued HUD to make radical changes at REACT. Last year, we took our message to HUD and Congress at last year's NAHT conference. HUD agreed to require 24 hours notice for inspections, to require landlords to post REACT scores and make HUD reports available to tenants. HUD agreed to let tenants REACT decisions and request a new inspection. And HUD agreed to allow tenant groups to add up to 5 additional apartments for inspection. And HUD's pilot Inspire program in HUD's Mid-Atlantic region. These were big victories won by NAHT in its plenary meeting with HUD, like the one tomorrow at 12 noon, when we meet with HUD. We can get HUD to address widespread problems about not getting rent receipts or leases, waiting list violations, unqualified contractors, abusive managers, and more. But some reforms need to be made by Congress. At last year's NAHT conference, Representative Maxine Waters, Rashid Tlaib, Nadia Vasquez, and Hakeem Jeffries agreed to support our calls. Representative Waters, chair of the House Financial Services Committee, called a hearing on NAHT's purpose tenant empowerment legislation held in November 2019. NAHT Board President Jordan Collins was invited to testify. Let's take a look.
David, are you there?
Yeah. Is this Morningside Heights?
The testimony, please.
It's the testimony.
Oh, okay, right. Give me one sec.
While David is preparing that, we decided, okay, go ahead. I'll talk about it later.
This hearing is entitled Safe and Decent, Examining the Current State of Residents' Health and Safety in HUD Housing. Well, and Mrs. Collins, you are recognized for 5 minutes.
Hello, and thank you everyone for having us here this afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Clay and Ranking Member Stivers, for inviting the National Alliance of HUD Tenants, NAHT, to testify on behalf of the 1.7 million households and privately owned HUD housing. We urge Congress to pass the Tenant Empowerment Discussion Draft and to enact the HUD Inspection Act of 2019. Together, these bills will give tools to empower tenants to ensure our homes are safe. It has long been apparent to NAHT members that HUD Real Estate Assessment Center systematically underreports health and safety problems. The disconnect between REACT scores and substandard housing came to head at several global ministries' properties in 2015, when tenants at Eureka Gardens in Jacksonville, Florida, exposed deplorable life-threatening conditions. Most recent coverage by NBC and ProPublica has concluded that REACT is pretty much a failure. HUD has recently instituted the Inspired demonstration in response. But given the urgency, HUD response has been too little, too slow. It shows not have taken action, it take action of 2 deaths to happen in South Carolina for HUD to realize
that tenants were not protected from carbon monoxide. Since 1999, HUD was downsized. And that vision was to organize tenants that could serve as unpaid ears and eyes to save and improve our homes. Unfortunately, from the outset, REACT has rejected this vision and prevented its inspectors from engaging with residents when they visit a property. Management staff can accompany inspectors, but not the people who live in the buildings. If REACT visits during the summer, how will they know that the heating system doesn't work in the winter unless they talk to the tenants? The Tenant Empowerment Bill would address this problem by tapping into experience and expertise of tenants at no cost to taxpayers. Currently, HUD can take action to many owners and help them bring buildings up to code, including partial withholding of Section 8 subsidy buildings. But too often, powerful owners at buildings like Forest Cove in Atlanta are treated with kid gloves by HUD. I have visited Forest Cove, and you'll see some of the slides that's shown here. Although Millennium has managed there for 2 years, tenants are still exposed to deplorable conditions, including rats, water leaks, toxic mold, exposed wiring, and more. No one should have to live like this. We presented these slides to Millennium and HUD last March, urging emergency relocation of 17 families until their units were made habitable. Although the REACT score is 32, HUD has yet to make Millennium take action, and family continues to suffer. The Tenant Empowerment Bill would enable tenants to put out rent into escrow, thereby requiring HUD to withhold its portion of the rent to pressure owners to fix these conditions. If HUD won't move against entrenched, powerful owners, Congress should give the tenants the power to make HUD do its job. The bill would empower tenants of cities to petition HUD or to reinspect properties when REACT failed to detect hazardous condition. For example, St. Edmunds Towers in Chicago, shown in these slides, passed the REACT score in 2017, despite widespread water leaks, mold, asbestos, and window leaks. A maintenance worker was put in intensive care because of a mold that he found behind a child's bedroom. When life-threatening conditions like these presents, the owners and HUD fails to act. The bill would give tenants the right to sue and enforce contracts between HUD and the owner. The bill would also give tenants access to key information such as who the building owners are, their repair plans overseen by HUD. Tenants can help make sure taxpayers' funds are spent wisely and well. Only some lords with something to hide would object. This bill would also require REACT to adopt simple, common sense steps to involve tenants as partners.
Thank you, sir.
I now go to the chairwoman of the committee, Chairwoman Waters from the state of California.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you because you have here before you today Ms. Geraldine Collins, the board president of the National Alliance of HUD Tenants. And I met with them a few months back to talk about how Congress and HUD can help ensure that tenants are empowered to hold their landlords and the agency accountable when it comes to conditions in housing that no one should have to live in. Now, and I can't tell you how pleased I am about their advocacy, because oftentimes we accuse tenants of not being involved, not speaking up for themselves, and now we hear a real voice and real advocacy and organizing. However, they're doing it without the support of HUD. And HUD has, as I understand it, $10 million that should be directed toward helping tenants to organize. And so the question becomes, and I guess I just want to get this on the record from Ms. Collins, has HUD made any attempt to talk about how they're going to release the resources that should be available to tenants to help in this organizing effort?
No, they haven't. Thank you for that question. No, they haven't. We've met with them several times. not several times, months after months, year after year, and they have never given us an answer. And so they have not given you an answer about resources, and you're out there working or using your own resources to organize and to get people together and travel and all of that. And at the same time, HUD is not, as I understand it, living up to its responsibility for repair and for the upkeep of the housing that it has the oversight and management for. Is that correct? That's correct. They have, they can bring down to $10 million a year annually. And all they need to do is to put out to different areas in the different states $1 million to help tenant associations organize. If they put that money out there, tenants would be able to be organized, whereas right now we had vistas. Whereas if we did not have the VISTA program the last 4 years, a lot of people would have lost their home.
Well, let me just tell you that I have met with Ms. Presley and I've met with Ms. Tlaib, and we know that you're contemplating possible legislation. And if this legislation is introduced and we work on it, it would be tough. It will deal with the issue. And so we're going to meet again.
Yes.
We have a meeting that's been planned in December where we will meet with the nonprofits who have Section 8 housing or HUD housing or what have you. And so Ms. Tlaib and Ms. Presley and I are focused on this, and we're with you.
Thank you, David. Move it over to the other one. I'm going to call upon Tara Madison for rebuttal.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, as you've heard the elegant words of our Congresswoman Maxine Waters, when we had arrived in D.C. Just shortly in meeting with her, we had learned that the owner trade groups, both the nonprofit and profit groups, had been meeting and having discussions in regards to NAHT's tenant empowerment bill without even notifying any of us or having us present at the table to be able to respond to any questions that they had. When Congresswoman Waters heard our opposition to this, she immediately said that we would have to convene a round table where NAHT tenant leaders and the owner groups would sit together to be able to voice their concerns and to negotiate solutions. So most issues resolve favorably, but we are still working to get it 100% resolved. However, due to the COVID, our efforts have been slowed down, but we are continuing to fight as we are today in a virtual way. So if we continue to fight forward, we will get the tenant empowerment bill. And thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Okay, David, I'm going to turn this over to you and Deborah at this moment to present the next award category.
Okay. Deborah, did you?
Many HUD tenants, yes, many HUD tenants live in senior high-rise buildings that also include younger tenants, market rate rents. We are particularly at risk as a result. NAHT tenant groups across the country are taking steps to secure their homes and have won some victories. Today, we honor. David will bring the next award.
Yeah, today we honor Morningside Heights, Morningside Heights Multicultural Tenants Organization from Manhattan, New York, for informing tenants of their rights and keeping their community safe and strong throughout the COVID crisis. Is there someone here from Morningside Heights who'd like to say a few words?
Vanessa Trahan or someone?
Yes, hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, this is Shamika. I'm on the Morningside Multicultural Organization, And I would like to say thank you to, everyone for all the hard work that you guys do. Our tenant organization is diverse. It consists of seniors, young people. We also have essential workers who also have families as well. We invest our time and we support the tenants in our building. We like to always reach out and help and try to assist the tenants in any way that we can, especially with interim certifications, evictions, moratorium that's, happening due to the COVID. We, assist tenants to let them know where to go, to get masks, food, other resources. We try to, help out as any way that we can. We also partner with our neighboring building, which is Sojourner Truth, multicultural tenant organization on West 109th Street, as well as the Union Street Association in Brooklyn. And they also do some of the same things that we do as well. So we all just try to, spread the word. We also lost some of our tenants due to COVID-19. And we decided to do a virtual memorial outside our building, honoring those tenants. And this is just some of the many things that we do. And again, we thank you. And everyone be safe and be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'd like to call next Phelps House Tenants Association, Manhattan, New York, for their creative preparation of homemade masks and hand sanitizers distributed to all the tenants in their building. I would like to call Brenda Lee to come forth and just say a few words. I'll make a few comments concerning Geraldine's leadership.
Okay. Does everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. As Vice President of Phelps House Tenant Association, I'm glad to accept the award on behalf of Phelps House. I have to say that with the leadership of our president, Geraldine Collins, we are always informed on that. Our Tenants Association, we are a strong group watching out with for other tenants. And in the past few months with this COVID-19, tenants were at a loss, and Geraldine Collins guided us through with the enforcement of sanitation and disinfectant from management. PPE masks were given to every tenant, keeping us safe. I want to thank you, Michael, for all that you have done with NAHT, and may everyone stay strong, safe, and working together for a better community. We at Phelps House continue to show strength. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We would next like to recognize Madison Apartments and Townhouses Tenants Association. Minneapolis, Minnesota, for winning required face coverings for construction workers rehabbing their homes to protect the health and safety of tenants. This is something that shows really how the times have changed in terms of what we're giving awards for. I'd like to call on Coroner Bowler and Faduma Salat of Madison Apartments to say a few words, and Ivory Taylor.
Ivory, I know there were some technical difficulties with Karina and Faduma. I want to see if they can get on, though, to speak for themselves.
Okay. I can go on to the next one. We can come back.
It looks like Faduma's on.
Okay.
Faduma, are you there? Karina, are you able to unmute and speak? I'll just say a few words on there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, great. Thanks. Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Karina, this is
Okay.
Ivory. Do you have a few words to say about the award?
Yes. So hello, everyone. I'm Karina Bowler. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a Madison Tenant Association leader for our Tenants Association. And I just want to say thank you for having us. We are so happy to be here today. And so we started off on a long journey with making sure that our rights was protected. And it's been a really long journey, but it's been so fulfilling to give access to renters who are afraid to speak up for themselves. We fought so many levels of people to where it's just exciting to know that, you know, it's a lot of power in numbers of people that we brought to the table with us along the way. And so I just thank Homeline, Ivory, Eric, Ned from Cura, Malik, our Tenants Association, my children, EPNI, Vanessa, Jordan, Jerry, Melly, all these good people that have helped us along the way during these stressful times, because it is not easy, but I wouldn't change it. I'll keep fighting for the residents, and I love doing it. So I thank you guys for having us today.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Reservoir Towers Tenants Association, Brighton, Mass, for winning a commitment for universal testing for COVID in their mixed income senior high-rise building. I'd like to call on Ms. Marianne Ozanoy, Tenant Association President, to briefly tell the story. Please tell your story. Thank you.
Marianne?
Hi.
I think she's not here.
Is that still me?
Someone from the Tenant Association, Reservoir Towers Tenants Association would like to say something?
They may not be here.
Yeah, just keep going.
Okay. All right. David.
David, are you there?
I am. Next award is to the United Community Housing Corporation of Detroit, Michigan, for innovative, comprehensive strategy for 6,000 seniors in downtown high-rise apartments. And we'd like to have Abigail Barnett or Claudia.
Yeah.
I guess Claudia is not here, but Abigail, are you there?
Abigail there?
Is Claudia there?
Yeah, Claudia's here.
Okay.
Hi. I don't know why my camera's not working, but it's not. Hello, and thank you. This is a huge honor to have this recognition. I was telling Michael the story one day about what we were doing here in Detroit. One of the award, states that we have over 6,000 tenants, senior tenants living in high-rise buildings in Detroit, and they're kind of the forgotten people who live here. People don't think about them, and especially during this COVID crisis, they were just being ignored. They were being ignored by their property managers, by their owners. They weren't posting any information to protect tenants. So we jumped into action pretty much mid-March when things started shutting down and started providing information to tenants, contacting people in the city of Detroit and the health department, and making sure that word got out. We developed materials that we could send out to senior buildings so that people could actually read and understand. And we got 4,000 through our state senator, Stephanie Chang, and the city of Detroit donated 4,000 masks, which we delivered to buildings. We delivered food boxes. And we also raised the awareness of the city of Detroit to the level to they decided to go into the senior buildings and start doing COVID testing on site. So it's been a lot of work. We're continuing to do it. I am part of a coalition called Senior Housing Preservation Detroit, where we have been working since 2013 on issues around seniors in project-based Section 8 properties in Detroit. And with that coalition, we're also working on getting people wellness checks, hygiene baskets, and quarantine boxes. So these are some of the, and developing more materials that are, that will help people understand how they need to stay safe over the next 12 to 18 months. So thank you for this recognition. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations, Claudia, for what you're doing, because we know that Detroit was hard hit with COVID. So you guys continue to stay safe and be healthy.
Oh, there's my video. Hi,
Great.
hello everybody. Yes, we were, but we're people are stepping up, and it's amazing how people are wearing masks and supporting each other. So thank you.
Great.
Let's give everybody an applause. Come on, wake up! We gotta wake up.
Yes.
Everybody else here.
Congratulations! Congratulations, everyone. Okay, we're gonna move on to Deborah.
Providence Senior Residents Association, Woodbridge Senior Residents Association. We'd like to honor you. I'll give you this award for organizing new tenant association through Zoom. We'd like you to come forward, Odita Taylor and Joanne Bishop, to accept this award and briefly tell your story. I'm really honored that you're from Atlanta.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, I am Odita Taylor, and I don't know if Joanne is on here with me or not. I haven't seen her pop up, but however, we are very, very grateful to be a part, and we are really excited about being in this year history with NAHT, being this is their first Zoom or their first virtual conference. So we're part of that history to be in here today. And we are very grateful that our virtual meeting was very spontaneously. I think it even surprised us even more than it did them. And however, we were expecting to speak with Deborah. We had invited her to come out so that I could introduce them to NAHT properly. I wanted the residents to know exactly what we had gotten ourselves into, which is a good thing. And Deborah kind of like mentioned that about getting Michael and Geraldine in on it. And she sent me a link. And the link was for me to get on the Zoom so that we could be out there in the yard. We took it outside because right now our all-purpose common room is still closed. So we don't have the pleasure of going in there yet at this time to hold our meetings. So we took it outside in the courtyard. And it was a windy day, it was cool. So, you know, we're all seniors and it was a chilly day, but however, we made it through. And the most successful part of it was to organize, the people have to be willing to participate. And I have to admit that with us here, I am under the umbrella and we are known as Thompson Southwood Senior Resident Association. And that involves two buildings. One is Providence at Parkway Village, is where I am the tenant leader. And the other one is called Woodbridge at Parkway Village, where Joanne Bishop is the tenant leader. But we're all under one umbrella by the organization called the Benoit Group. And so what we did is we got out in the yard, we got together, everybody opened up their phone, and I transferred the link to everybody who was out there. And we had pretty much about close to 30 people, I believe, that was out there. And they were very excited about it. It was a very successful meeting for us. It was our first meeting since the COVID. The last time we met was March. and we do meet with our tenants once a month. And so that was March, April, May, and so far June, we have not met. However, Providence will be meeting in July, and we're going to discuss some pretty interesting things that has happened since the COVID. So it was very easy for us to initiate that Zoom meeting because of the people's willingness and their participation. Everybody brought the phone, everybody got tuned into the link, and we were on, and we met Michael and Geraldine and Deborah for the first time. And it was a very, very good experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations,
Thank
Odetta.
you.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank
Show you
you.
encouragement to say that anything can be done. Even though we're doing a lot of virtual stuff, there was 30 tenants out in the cold willing to learn how to use Zoom. So Tenant Association, let's get our power back and let's continue to work on and fight on for the good of housing. I'm going to bring up next the Fighting Urban Displacement and Combating Discrimination by Charlotte Rogers. Charlotte?
Yes, thanks. Tenants in communities of color in private, public, and HUD housing are struggling against budget cuts, deregulation, gentrification, and displacement as luxury developers drive to change the face and the faces of the city across the country. For the past decade, NAHT tenants have been fighting to save our homes against this onslaught. In recent years, we joined 300 Chinese and African American family in Museum Square here in Washington, D.C., who was fighting plans by their owners to tear down their Section 8 building, throwing out tenants and building a high-rise of luxury condo. Can we have a show of hands in chat by everyone fighting this across the country and the world? I hope we had a show of hands. At least clap. At this time, the board would like to recognize several groups from across the country who are fighting urban displacement and combating discrimination in their communities. And the first one we would like to bring up is Housing Justice Legend, Atlanta, Georgia, for fighting displacement. For fighting displacement by global investors and creating an affordable housing policy for Atlanta. We call it Allison Johnson or someone from Housing Justice, please.
Allison?
I don't think she's on.
But someone is here from Housing Justice to tell the story how it happened.
Deborah? Deborah
Okay.
or Allison?
All right.
Yes, we'd like to accept the award. My phone was up there. We'd like to accept the award and thank you so much. It's an honor. Housing Justice League did hard work all year, and it was a wonderful experience to know that things can be done, and Housing Justice League got it done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes. Okay, the next one for fight urban displacement and combating discrimination, I'd like to call up the Madison Tenants Association, Homeline for Minneapolis. For fending off a redevelopment and displacing Sheen and winning major rehab and on-site relocations. And we call it Karina or Fadum. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It's Salad.
Fadum or Salad?
Coming up.
Yeah.
This is Ivory from Homeline. Karina and Faduma, are you on?
Hi, Ivory.
Hi.
Good to see you.
While they get on, I think they're going to work to unmute. I'd just like to say thank you for this. I started working with Madison Tenants as a Vista under NAHT. So it was really the Vista program with NAHT that helped me to get in and support the Madison Tenants to build their Tenants Association. And 2.5 years later, we're still working together and continuing to really build a strong association and make sure that their rights are being upheld. So thank you guys for your support and helping guide us along the way. And I think I see that they've unmuted, so I'll let them talk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Briefly,
Ivy.
please.
Faduma, are you on? I don't know. Hello, guys. This is Karina again. Yes, it's been a long road. We've been doing this quite some time, and I appreciate all the people that has helped us along the way. Rights are very important to housing, especially living in HUD housing. We have to teach more residents that they are, that they have rights. And we have to make sure that, everyone's protected, because it's getting dirty out there, but we're fighting to win. And I appreciate every single person that has helped me overcome a lot of obstacles that came along with all this housing work, because it's very stressful. And so I just appreciate, Homeline and EPNI, our neighborhood association, so many people that we can thank, for all this hard work that we've, done so far to just get our remodel happening at our property. Because if it wasn't for the Tenants Association, it probably would have never happened. So it's important that, tenants step up around the country, and we're here to help them, get that going. So I just appreciate you guys again for having me today.
Thank you. Okay.
Congratulations.
Very welcome.
Yeah. The next one is Folsom Door and Tenant Action Group from San Francisco, California, for winning a pilot program to reduce rent to 30% of income for thousands of supported housing SOR tenants. Calling Freddie and Eric. Come up and tell us a brief story how you did this, please. Freddie.
Fred. I'm Fred.
Eric.
Freddie Martin.
Anybody here from San Francisco, California?
Yes. Is Eric Markoff's on?
Hi. Eric?
Okay.
Go to the next one, Charlotte.
Okay, so we're moving right along, save time. We're calling up the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. Group Achievement Award for Boston for winning a Model 5 million year low-income rent subsidy from Boston Budget and flexible vouchers for housing and racial justice.
Woo, a big win. Woo!
And Rhonda, Janice, would you please come and tell your story briefly, please? Yeah, either one of you.
One, Rhonda and Janice.
Rhonda Jackson.
Rhonda.
5 million a year.
Help you, Rhonda.
Janice.
Janice, we can hardly hear you. How about Rhonda to start?
Somebody? Anybody?
It's William, president of MAP. How are you?
Hi,
William.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I miss hugging everybody. I
know.
don't like this.
So I throw you a good kiss, please.
Well, thank you for
Briefly
the
now.
award. And keep on keeping on. That's all we can do here, right?
Right. That was good
And
money.
what time does the dancing start? We can social this dancing. We can do that.
Sure can.
On Zoom.
On Zoom.
Okay.
Wait, We'll put on some music right now. There we go. Am I scaring you?
All right, William. Okay, moving right along.
Thank you.
These groups would tell more about their successful campaign in an exciting workshop tomorrow on fighting urban displacement. Yay!
Yay!
Call up, turn it over to Yolanda Butler.
She here?
Hi, everyone. Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Yolanda.
Hi. So each year,
Oh,
the
here you
NAHT
are.
Board. Can you see me?
I can see you. Can you see me?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just so happy to be here.
Oh,
I miss you guys.
I'm waiting for the Zoom dancing, so let me get started.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Yolanda, and each year the NAHT Board recognizes local groups at the building level that have won landmark campaigns to save affordable housing. By extending affordability as my development in Chicago did several years ago. This year, we are proud to present an award for preservation of at-risk housing to Esperanza Fort Hill Gardens in Roxbury, Massachusetts. And this is for blocking the market conversion and winning new ownership management and major repairs. Can Karina Andrews come up or say a word? Or anyone from Esperanza Fort Hill Gardens say a word?
Hello.
I think Karina had to go to her job. She has a job and pretty intense.
Okay.
Michael, is it okay if I speak? Since I worked with them?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I'm Sheree Mills. I started working with this group as a Vista. And boy, this group went through a crazy story and time with their building. And, you know, they're predominantly people of color. There's a lot of elderly folks. It's 2 buildings, a lot of working, you know, folks. And, you know, they really had no idea how to organize themselves, but we kept persisting to reach out to them. Even when they, you know, got annoyed with us, we kept going to their building and door knocking and telling them how they could be leaders and help their building because, you know, their owners weren't doing the right thing. They didn't have a qualified management company, you know, they didn't have qualified maintenance workers. And we basically got to train them on their rights and learn what's going on in their building and that they can make changes in their building and they got a qualified management company and they have new owners and, you know, they're getting repairs done. And, you know, since I've no longer been working with them, I'm still following their story because I think it's incredible that they've come so far and have, you know, gotten the repairs, much needed repairs that they've needed and things changed. And they've really, the tenants have stepped up a lot to, you know, help their building. So I'm excited for them that they're, you know, gotten this award because they live in a predominantly, you know, Black neighborhood, you know, that's ever gentrifying. So it's amazing that they were able to keep their building affordable in this particular neighborhood. Roxbury is predominantly people of color and Black, I should say. So it's amazing to, you know, keep in the neighborhood as it is and keep people in their homes and they're still fighting years later. It's amazing. So congratulations to them. They definitely earned it.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving us the insight about that. We thank you for filling in as well. So the next award will be given to Mercantile Wharf Tenants Association located in North End, Massachusetts, for preserving low-income multicultural housing in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood. Sandy Padeliraro and Tracy Minot. Are they available?
Hi, this is Sandy.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi.
I'm the president of the Mercantile Wharf Tenants Association.
Okay.
About 4.5 years ago, we got a letter saying that we had new owners and that our property was essentially expiring use, so that the property affordability was going to be going away. We were wringing our hands, and we had the luck of having met Michael. One tenant in our building accidentally met a cab driver who gave them Michael's phone number and name from NAHT. And we had a tenant meeting. At that point, everybody was wringing their hands. And we've gone from that to basically understanding the alphabet soup of the federal and state subsidies and so forth and so on. We've navigated finding our new owner. They were a secret partner, so we really had to work at just getting a name. And now we actually are close to inking a deal where everybody who lives in the building now will be able to stay here. 60 something tenants, 51 or 52 families will be Section 8 for 20 years, and the remainder will be a state program for 10 years. We're still working out the details. We're still trying to make sure that any straggling people that don't fit in one of those two programs, that we find something else to make it work. We found out that our owner is very committed, and we bonded with them, and we fought City Hall. And I have to say, I cannot give enough credit to joining with other groups. David and I met on an airplane, and we started the 13A committee of MAT. That's a committee that has to do with a particular state law in Massachusetts that created approximately, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, 19 or 20 properties that were subsidized similar to Section 8, but under a state Chapter 13A law. And all of those buildings, 6,000 tenants across the state of Massachusetts, are up over a 2 or 3 year period. We're going to all lose their housing. So we've joined together with many of those and helped each other out. A big change in the attitude of the city happened for us when other 13A tenant groups joined us in a park across the street from my building, and we lobbied. We made noise. We chanted and we made noise and demonstrated at what the mayor thought was going to be a quiet coffee hour with local residents. And that started the ball rolling, because before that we were shut off. But alone we couldn't have made that kind of noise, don't you see? So I'm just here to encourage people that it works. I know I'm talking a lot, but the point is, we started 4.5 years ago. We had no hope. And here we are 4.5 years later. I'm here to say that we definitely have the light at the end of the tunnel. Even, the ink isn't on the paper yet, but we have a committed owner. We have a great relationship with that owner, and we've dragged the city and the state along with us. And it's because we've organized. It's because we've learned what our rights are. It's because we waded our way through the alphabet soup and started learning what all of this stuff meant to us as tenants. And we found out what our rights were. And we have I keep saying we punch above our weight. The committee, the steering committee for our tenant association, only 5 or 6 consistent people, but we punch above our weight as if we were like 100 people. And that's because we've got all of Matt and Nat behind us when we need it. So please use the resources. Don't lose hope and join together, because it's really important. And the last thing I'm going to say is, we are the only building in our neighborhood that is diverse. And when I say diverse, I mean ethnically diverse. I mean income diverse. I mean nationally diverse. I mean language diverse. And we have 122 units, and we're probably represent 20 countries. And we represent every income level. And we have families and we have old people. So, we're a gem, and we were going to be lost. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Nat.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam, for your advocacy. your continued support to NAHT. And congratulations.
And the last
Deborah?
award would be from Ford's Building Tenants Association located in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, for lowering rents for 41 seniors from 40% to 30% of income. David, are you available to receive this award?
I am, and I'm one of them seniors that actually directly got the award. I'm going to make myself quick, but the thing that Sandy failed to tell you is that protest she was talking about was across the street from her building in 96-degree heat. And the mayor came up to us, really irritated, because there were about 70 of us there from 2 different buildings.
Wow.
And he said, Michael, I don't know. The only thing I'm mad at is you got all these people out here in the 96-degree heat, and I'm really concerned about their health. And we're looking at ourselves as 75 to 90-year-old activists. So we fought for that. And the postscript to that story is, years later, this year, the mayor gave his State of the City address. And Michael went up after the address. We were invited, as a matter of fact. And Michael went up after the address. First thing, the mayor went right up to him and said, Michael, because he granted us the things, many of the things that we wanted. He says, Michael, you bore me down. And that's the secret of our success.
My, have times changed. We did, we warmed down.
A lot of these stories.
We're going to move right now because right now the stories that you just heard from Sandy and David is going to be in one of our workshops tomorrow.
Right.
And it's going to be preserving at-risk housing. Please, you just had a sneak preview. So please, if you want to join that workshop, make sure you're there because Sandy and David has great stories. So be in that workshop if you need to be. And at this time, I'd like to invite Deborah Arnold to present the next awards, local legislative campaigns. Deborah? Deborah?
Yes, I'm here. Yes. Rents in cities across the country, including Atlanta, where I live, are skyrocketing to unbelievable levels. In response, tenants have revived a national movement for rent control and other tenant protections to fight back. I am honored to present these awards for NAHT, Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants, Boston, Mass, for an organizational sign-on letter that helped win the strongest state eviction moratorium in the U.S. We're asking David Noman and Margaret Armaud, Janice McQuarrie, Bill Pryor, and any other NAHT board leaders. Also, our own Michael Kane to add to this.
Somebody else, please.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Michael.
We've talked a lot. I think you need to move the awards on, to be honest. But thank you.
Oh, no. All right. Thank you, everybody, and keep on persisting.
Yeah, but we won that, and it was the strongest one in the country. But thank you for that. We need to move on with others.
Okay.
Thank you. Can I make a comment, please? Can I make a comment? I'm hearing either I'm hearing in the background either people are talking with their mics on to each other, or they have a TV or a radio on. Would you please shut off anything you have going on in the background, or put your mic on mute?
The host can mute too.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next award goes to New York State Tenants and Neighbors, New York, New York, for winning a statewide eviction moratorium and a zero rent increase by Rent Guidelines Board. I'd like to call on Yolande and others to tell the story.
Woo, tenant and neighbors. Woo. Congratulations, Yolanda.
Congratulations.
Yolanda, are you there? Is there anyone from tenant and neighbors there?
Yes, hi, it's Serena from Tenants and Neighbors. Just want to say thank you so much, and also just thanking the other folks that also, helped with that also. So thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you and congratulations, Serena. And say hello to, congrats to Yolanda also for all the good work that you guys are doing. Next, I'd like to introduce David, and he will present the next award for the right to organize and tenant empowerment.
Thank
David?
you. Thanks, Geraldine. Ever since Tenants founded NAHT 25 years ago, our top priority has been to secure the right to organize in HUD housing. Since 1992, NAHT has won strong HUD regulations on the right to organize. They are on the right side of your registration packet. They protect our right to door knock, leaflet, meet in the community room without interference or harassment from management. We have a great workshop from Sandy Rollins from the Texas Tenants Union on how NAHT won the right to organize from HUD and the challenges ahead. 2 years ago, HUD said that they would issue a letter to the owner of Ridge at Trinity at Dallas, where the owner threatened Vista organizers with arrest and threw them off the property. A year later, HUD sent a letter, but then gave the owner more time. Tomorrow, we'll push HUD again to enforce our rights. Each year, the NAHT Board recognizes groups that have won battles to protect tenants' rights. And the first award goes to Miami Gardens Tenants Association, Miami, Florida, for getting local police to remove uninvited management staff from a tenant meeting. And I think you're going to love this story. Jennifer Mercedes?
Hey.
Jennifer, I hope you're here. No, maybe not. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Vanessa?
I think she's trying to
Excuse me, I'm
speak.
Deborah Brown. Which Brown are you asking? Deborah, are you asking for? Can you see me, Michael?
We're looking.
It's the Miami Gardens Tenants.
Mercedes, David.
It's the Miami Gardens, aren't we doing that?
Jennifer Mercedes from Miami Gardens. Are you available?
That's right.
She was there earlier.
Shalonda, do you want to accept this award on their behalf? Shalonda Rivers?
Yes, I had to unmute myself. 1 second. Jennifer, are you there? Okay, I'll accept it. Earlier, I apologize. It was my turn early and I had her to go, but I will accept it on Miami Gardens Village Apartments in Miami Gardens. This is the award where, I encouraged this group to organize because of a lot of issues that was going on, and they were able to still have the meeting in spite of management trying to crash the meeting. And, just so residents to learn their rights and responsibility. It is a new group. We are still working with this group. That's why I'm grateful to NAHT, a program like NAHT, and many other organizations, that teaches residents their rights, and especially dealing with multifamily. So I just want to say thank you. And as she stated earlier, the chiefs for that property, the chiefs of that property who started all of this organization was Miss Sarah and Miss Joyce, and they passed on, but these are the chiefs for that property. We just want to recognize Miss Joyce and Miss Sarah from that property. Thank you on that. I appreciate it.
Well,
way to go, Shalonda.
Thank you. And if we
I
have
know
to
a lot of you
continue
guys are getting
to
a little, a little tired, but we're going to get through this. We just want to let you know that the awards that we're giving today, we'll have workshops tomorrow. And there are people that's telling partly their stories. So you'll be able to hear the complete stories tomorrow in the workshop. Okay, the next one is the holding owners accountable quality of life issues. Vanessa, are you around? Vanessa Trahan? Vanessa, are you available to give this award out?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
You can? Okay. So the first one is to City View at Rosa Burney Tenants Association, Columbia at Mechanicsville Senior Tenants Association.
Woo! Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think, Deborah, is this you? I don't know. Sounds
Yeah.
like it.
What? Who was? Yes. Is Teresa? Are you on also?
Yay.
Allison. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much. It was a fight for us, and I really thank Housing Justice League for their great work in helping us fight to reserve our home. Thank all our friends, our city, this Atlanta period that helped us in our MPUVs and our meetings. Thank you for the tenants. Thank every one of you. Thank you so much. Special thanks for Teresa Dunn, Mechanicsville Senior, for their teamwork and effort to help us win this fight. We thank you so much. Angela Bradford, if you're on, you can say something. Teresa Dunn, if you're on, you hope that you can say some words. However, we thank you. I think Teresa wasn't able to make it, but thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this
Yes.
award is replacing an abusive management company and winning recognition from a large corporate owner. Congratulations.
Great job. Okay, the next one is for Staten Oaks Tenant Association, Atlanta, Georgia, for getting rid market-orientated manager and repealing a $50 late charge. And I see here, Sharice Brown, are you available? Oh, okay.
Sharice?
Sharice, are you there?
Oh.
Is she muted? She might be muted, you guys.
She will be on a panel. This is the most popular workshop, is how to get rid of an abusive manager. And we've got 3 fantastic stories from Atlanta. So she'll be on that panel.
Okay, and the last one is for Providence Senior Residents Association, Woodbridge Senior Residents Association, Atlanta, Georgia, for replacing an abusive management company. Yay. And winning recognition from a large corporate owner. And I have here Odetta Taylor, Joanne Bishop, both of you guys, or one of you guys.
Oh, thank you again. We really weren't expecting this today. Thank you. We are really one of the newcomers. This is Odetta Taylor again.
Okay.
I understand Joanne texted me and tell me that she's here. She don't know why she can't hear. I can't hear her and why I can't see her. I don't know. But I have to credit Woodbridge for the majority and the biggest part of getting rid of the abusive manager. However, both buildings, we share the same managers. But Woodbridge went to bat, and one of the most important things that I recognize from them as far as getting rid of an abusive manager, it's all about documentations and evidence. Yeah. So when you have documentation and great evidence and you present your case, you can rest assured that you will win. So yeah. I could say more, but we're going to need that for Joanne Bishop in the workshop, because she can tell more about it. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to
Jerry and Charlotte.
Yeah. Okay. Vanessa. NAHT won a renewed Vista project.
Okay.
And Charlotte will explain what the Vista is and the project that we received. Charlotte?
Okay.
Volunteer in service to America. That's what the Vista is. Vistas go out and work, come in as organizers for help organize tenant associations and to do it whatever type of work that the tenant association really need to have to be done. We placed 35 organizers in 20 groups for 5 years until 2019, when our contract had expired. So we've been in the past year, and that had won 1.2 million from the HUD to extend the project for two more years, and enough for 21 visitors in 13 states. If you all remember the conference last year when we was in Virginia, the program had played out and we didn't have any visitors, and we was fighting very hard to get the program to be extended and to continue with the visitors. So hopefully we have that program now. And it's called the Vistas Affordable Housing Preservation Program, to save and to improve our home. Each Vista will organize at least 3 to 5 buildings per year in communities from Washington State to New York, from Atlanta to Newark to San Francisco. We did find a new partner to administrate the program. I don't know how far you want me to go, Jerry, before you take over. We found a new partner. I'll finish this. We found a new partner to administrate the extended program, which is called NAHCAB, the National Association of Latino Community Asset Builders. NAHT have identified and recommend Vista sites, and will provide training and support starting in hopefully September.
And the second project we won, NAHT has won the possibility of a new second Vista project, Safe and Healthy Homes. Vistas would be free to organize in any federally subsidized building. These vistas will deal with the impact of COVID. We're hoping to partner with NAHCAB to recommend sites and provide training and support. NAHT will continue to fight to get HUD to provide up to $9 million that should be made available to local organizing groups through a 3-year grant for local tenant organizers. Over the years, NAHT has won more than $26 million for tenant organizing nationwide. NAHT will continue to fight for more resources to organize the unorganized tenants in our community. And now we're going to present the Charlotte Delgado Award. The Charlotte Delgado Award is an Outstanding Tenant Leaders Award. And Charlotte Delgado was the president of NAHT, one of the first presidents of NAHT long time ago. And sorrowfully, we lost her about 3 years ago now. And Charlotte has been really a rock of NAHT. She has really advocated on behalf of everywhere she went, and every tenant she could think of. She brought them from California. Upon her deathbed, she came to the last conference very ill, but she persevered and she pushed through. And then we decided to name this award the Charlotte Delgado Award. And today I'd like to give this award to none other than 2 people on the board that has been very instrumental in leadership, outstanding leadership. The first person I'd like to give this award to, the National Alliance of HUD Tenants, Charlotte Delgado Award for Outstanding Tenant Leader, proudly presents to Deborah Arnold.
Yay!
Congratulations, yay! For her passionate advocacy and support for tenants' rights and success in building NAHT. Congratulations, Deborah. Would you like to say something?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God, it's an honor. I just want to say thanks to everyone, Housing Just Leave, National Alliance for HUD Tenants, all the ones that supported us here at Rosa Barney. I just learned that when you have a purpose and you have a strong reason, it doesn't matter what it takes. You know, you will accomplish it. You know, and when you have a caring and a commitment to the people, you know, God will bless it. You know, it'll work out for you just fine. I think I wanted to say that sometimes you may feel alone, and it's hard work, but even sometimes when you're feeling ill and you have that purpose and that reason, you have a stronger drive to finish your mission. And my heart desired I really had a heart for each tenant on this virtual conference to attend the NAHT conference, because many could not go to Washington, D.C. Physically, they couldn't go. Financially, they couldn't go. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to reach as many as possible to join in something that is so great and beneficial for the tenant association, to better their lives. But I want to say thank you so much. I can't see none of you. I don't even know what's wrong with my Zoom. There's no way I could get on it. I can't see anyone, but I'm on the phone. I'm talking through the phone, but I can't see you. I wish I could. But I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. This is
Thank you.
Teresa.
Congratulations,
Thank
Deborah.
you.
You was well
Thank
deserved.
you.
Congratulations, Deborah.
Well deserved.
Congrats,
The next award
Deborah.
is going to none other than New York's own Vanessa Trahan of the
Hey.
Riverside Heights Multicultural Tenant Organization in Manhattan.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Howard.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Vanessa.
Can you hear me?
We extended. I'm gonna give you the award first, Vanessa.
Oh, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay.
I'd like to give this award to Vanessa for her passionate advocacy and support for tenant rights and success in building NAHT. You have been a great asset to NAHT, Vanessa, and we do want you and Deborah to know that we deeply appreciate your hard work, and we do see it, and we like you to continue on doing what you're doing for the people. You have the floor.
Okay. Just a few words, fellas and ladies. Okay. I accept this award, and I'm grateful, right, to work along with my NAHT family, past and present. The COVID in New York City has been challenging, but we have battled it. I miss my neighbors we lost. But at least in time, you know, it makes me breathless. But we are fighting an uphill battle with displacement, evictions, rent freezes, interim recertifications, and so forth. So let's just continue to fight and to save our homes. And like David says, save our homes and change the world. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And I'm very honored.
Let's give them a hand. They well deserve this award. Congratulations, Deborah and Vanessa. Well-deserved award.
Thank you.
And I was going to turn it over to Charlotte Rogers to present the next award.
Okay, this next award is the Ricky Lynn Award. Ricky was a board member of the National Alliance of HUD Tenants for quite a while. Y'all hear me? Am I?
Yes.
For quite a while. He was my, Ricky was the type of person that he testified in Congress once or twice, maybe, I know at least one time. But he was a person that really worked hard and a lot of time it was in the background on that. He set up all the technologies, and he did all that stuff. He would take you anywhere that you needed to go. Whatever needed to be done, Ricky was there to do it. He was a great friend of mine, very great friend of mine. I just want to tell this little story quickly. Is that Rick and I used to ride from, Ricky would rent a car to drive us to our NAHT meetings or conference or whatever. And okay, Ricky, I'm gonna have to pay half of the car. Okay, I have to pay for half of the car. Some kind of way, always, Ricky would always find a way to give me my half of the money back. Some kind of way he would always slip it back to me. Sometime I would get up and get out the car. When I get in the house, I look in the bag, the money is back in the bag, in an envelope in my bag. So Ricky was that type of person. He did so much of work for NAHT. And David, this award is being given to David Noman, our board secretary, who reminds me very much of Ricky.
Hey, congratulations.
David does a lot of the background work that we don't, the public don't see what's going on to get these conference and all this other stuff set up.
Right.
David right up is one of the greatest secretaries I guess NAHT have had for a long time. So the National Alliance of HUD Tenants, the Ricky Ling Award to Lifetime Achievement proudly present to David Noman, Full Billings Tenant Association, Jamaica Plain, Mass, for his steadfast, creative, and multifactorial leadership to the national and local tenant movement. And this is really, really true for David. So David, congratulations. Continue the great work.
Congratulations, David. Congratulations, David.
Congratulations, David.
David! Yay!
Bravo.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something, David?
When have you
Thank you.
ever known me not to say anything?
Briefly, David.
What I want to say, years ago, I was telling the story to the board that I used to be involved in the quote unquote radical movement. You know, a white guy lived in the suburbs, didn't know anything about what was going on, and I would do these things and I wouldn't take any risks to do them. Well, that's changed for me. I have to say that, I just tell you this one story, and Michael will remember it. I went to my first conference, this one, and we're doing our congressional forum, and we were sitting in the cafeteria, and I was just blown away by what real activism and organizing is all about. And I sat down with Michael, and he knows, I looked him dead in the eye. I said, Michael, I'm in. And I meant it. I was in, for good. But the reason that I'm in is because I've had great mentors. And I would like to start with the board. Every member of the board has been a teacher and an educator for me. To get a reward from that board for me is one of the most heartwarming and heartfelt, wonderful things that I've ever achieved. And of course, I would also like to thank the person who has been for the last 8 years, has been my teacher, my mentor, and my friend. I came into a meeting of the Massachusetts Alliance of HUD Tenants, thinking I was just going to sit in the background at the meeting. It turned out to be a board meeting. And when I first sat down, I thought, I got to get out of here. I haven't left that board meeting in 8 years. So I thank you all, and I'm deeply humbled.
You're welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because you loved us, David. Congratulations.
I love you more than anyone except my dear Cheryl, who has tolerated
Excellent.
now.
It's going to the last award is going to a Vista official by the name of Mr. Craig Kinnear. Michael, would you like to lead us off?
I don't think is he here? I'm not sure he's here.
He's not there?
Craig, are you there? Yeah, I think neither he and nor Leah could make it. So we we have a panel ready to go. Folks have been waiting patiently.
Okay.
But this is great. I mean, this is really powerful. Just a quick check. I mean, should we just move straight? We've had 4 panelists waiting very patiently. We're 45 minutes behind. You know, we could just move right into it if people are ready. My concern if we take a break is that we lose a lot of people. We actually have almost everybody on. We have 80 people still on.
Okay.
We've only lost a
So
few.
let's go on with the panel then, and everybody can mute themselves or whatever if you need to, and take a break if you need to. Okay,
Right.
the next person, the first person on the panel we're going to bring up is Debbie Weinstein here? Is Debbie Weinstein?
Yeah, I'm here.
She's there.
Okay. Debbie Weinstein leads the Coalition on Human Needs, the national umbrella group for all organizations and network fighting for low-income people in the healthcare, food, housing, job, and human service fields. NAHT participates in CHN's Save Our All Coalition and value their weekly conference calls to learn about what's going on in Washington and how tenants can fight back. Welcome, Debbie, you have the floor.
Thanks so much. It's been great to listen to everyone, and congratulations to everyone who won awards. What I'm going to talk about is other kinds of advocacy that has paid off so far, but we've got a lot more work to do. So I'm talking about the situation around COVID-19, the legislation that has passed in Congress, and most particularly what still has to pass. And I would just start by saying what a critical time it is. There's a federal moratorium on evictions that's expiring at the end of July. Also expiring the extra $600 per week that people receiving unemployment insurance are getting. Also, most state fiscal years start up on July 1, and their revenues are plummeting, and budgets are passing before Congress has given any assurance that they're going to do something more to help. All of these things affect the services that people with low incomes really care about. And in this context, there's lots of current data that we've been sending out on a weekly basis, and I can put in the chat box links to some of this. But you know, we know that more than half of Latinx and Black households have lost income from work since the middle of March, when the pandemic really kicked in. More than half. We know that in households where somebody did lose work income, close to 1 in 4 weren't able to pay their rent in May. They didn't pay, or they deferred their May rent. That was true of more than a quarter of Black households. We know that more than 1 in 5 Latinx and Black households with children said that they sometimes or often did not have enough to eat in the previous week. Really, you can see I'm not a young kid, and we have not seen data like this, frankly, in my memory. It's severe. If it's a household with children where the adult actually had COVID symptoms, nearly half said that they sometimes or often didn't have enough to eat. So I only mention this in the context, I guess I don't really have to tell you how important it is to our communities, to the economy, that we meet the needs. And we've got people in Congress, some of whom want to help with that, and some need a lot of convincing. So we've got 3 major bills that passed so far. And the first one did include, you know, funding for COVID testing and Medicaid costs, that was pretty modest. Some increase in nutrition assistance. They expanded unemployment benefits and paid leave. So that was the first round, that passed. The second was a much better bill. It was called the CARES Act, and that included more extensive unemployment insurance. There was the big one-time payments, those $1,200 payments that they called economic impact payments that individuals got, with more for families. So that was part of that bill. There was a lot more in that bill. Education assistance, some state and local aid of small amount, relatively speaking, in housing and homelessness resources. And there was that, what they call the Paycheck Protection Program, which gave money to smaller businesses so that they could keep people on the payroll. So that was what that was. And now, so a lot of money was spent, trillions of dollars was spent, but we still have the need that I was just describing. And the House of Representatives understands that, and they pass a excuse me, something that was called the HEROES Act. That's a $3.5 trillion bill that includes lots of important assistance. And I will say that some of the most important provisions include housing assistance, $100 billion package that would prevent or pay rents for people. We know that these eviction moratoria are coming to an end. And when they do, as you know, rent has been piling up. If people don't get assistance, they're not going to be able to pay the back rent, and they will get evicted once that moratorium is done. So the $100 billion would be extraordinarily important to help them manage. There are other, they would repeat the payments to the individuals at $1,200, make it more generous actually. They would continue that weekly $600 extra in unemployment insurance that otherwise would be expiring at the end of July. They'd increase SNAP benefits as well, which is extraordinarily important. When I mention how many people are not able to put enough food on the table in the previous week, we just have to respond to that. So we have to respond. The House responded, but the Senate has not. And they are about to go on recess at the end of this week. They'll have their 4th of July recess. They won't be back until July 20th. At that time, you know, the Republican leadership in the Senate, at first they just said, well, let's wait and see. But of course, as coronavirus cases have been spiking in so many places, the economy still is terrible. They recognize they have to do something. And they've talked about a fair, relatively speaking, smaller amount of money, an inadequate amount of money to deal with the problems at hand. Even the Trump administration is willing to spend more than the Senate is so far. And right now the high water mark is the House. So what we're trying to do is encourage people to talk to their senators. This is true of Republicans and Democrats alike. We need to really light a fire under people to take the firmest possible position to push the negotiation so that the needs can be met. So I know you've got a lot of people on the panel, and I'll stop there. But what I'm going to do is put in the chat box a link. I hope I can do this. It's kind of fat, but all you have to do is click on it. And let me see if I can get this back. If you do, it will help you kind of automatically send email to your senators. And so far, with the help of a lot of different groups, okay, I hope that works. Yeah, it's very big, but if you click anywhere on it, I think you'll be able to get it. We've already had about 90,000 emails to members of the Senate. So we need yours to be lighting a fire under those folks. And then the one additional thing, if I can do it, is I'll leave my email address there. So if people have questions, you can reach me. But thank you very much for what you're doing. You're making a huge difference. We need you. And we've got to light a fire under the Senate so that they do what's necessary so that people don't go from this moratorium to huge numbers of evictions and homelessness. You know why that would be just awful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Weinstein. And thanks for sharing those links. If anyone want to go into the chat box, and you will see those links in the chat box, and they may be useful to you at some time. So the next person I want to introduce is the Reverend Graylin Hagler. He is a lifetime civil rights and anti-racist activist and preacher with the Poor People Campaign based in Washington, D.C. You may remember in 2018 at NAHT's conference, we marched to the Martin Luther King Memorial, and he gave quite a powerful speech there. I'd like to introduce to everyone the Reverend Graylin Hagler. Reverend Hagler.
Well, it's good to be with you today and through this whole virtual reality, because our lives have significantly changed since the end of March. I mean, one of the things that happened, I'm going to just talk very personally. One thing, I pastor Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ here in Washington, D.C. And of course, with the onslaught of the pandemic and the lockdown, the revenues in the church went to zero. If you think about the impact of that, because people were not used to online presence, they were used to face-to-face, they were used to engaging face-to-face, and so with that pandemic, revenues went to zero, and also at the same time, calls coming into the church from the community went to an all-time record high of people out of food, and you just name it, from utility bills and all of those types of things that people got hit very hard with. And I'll point out this, is that I had, since that pandemic began, the lockdown, I've had 20 funerals of people who have died from COVID-19 just in my congregation. I'm not talking about other congregations, just in my congregation. It started from the first week. And so in a sense, we saw exactly how hard, particularly Black communities of color was hit. Because what we really began to discover in the sort of the whole economic arrangement was that most of the people, our constituency, if they held on to their jobs, they were not allowed to work remotely because they did not have those kinds of jobs. You had a whole lot of people who were healthcare workers in convalescent homes and in nursing homes, and they got hit hard. And one after another, I was burying them because they had no time off. And in fact, when it all came down, they had no personal protection equipment either. So they were exposed over and over again, which only says, this is a part of the whole systemic racism that exists and the whole kinds of economic disparities. When we did the Poor People's virtual march on Washington, which was on June 20th, this past June 20th, people estimated that well over 1 million people participated in that virtual march. Well, I believe it was well over 1 million people. One, C-SPAN carried it from beginning to end. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival on their website, carried it from beginning to end. You had journalists like Ali Veshi, who carried it on his own homepage, and people like that who kept carrying this whole issue around the Poor People's Campaign. And the Poor People's Campaign focused on a number of things, right? The interlocking evils and injustices of systematic racism, systematic poverty, ecological devastation, war-based economy, and the false moral narrative of religious nationalism. Those are the types of things that we have focused upon, and it's all interrelated, because we look at the religious nationalism is afoot because it denies that people are poor. It denies that racism exists. It denies that there is a need for some kind of a social infrastructure. It basically takes on a mentality, and it puts forth a mentality that I made it by pulling on my own boots and pulling up my own bootstraps, and you should too. And the issue that they try to put forth is that the issues of poverty is because people are lazy.
That's right.
And so, in a sense, that's what we're faced with this white evangelical movement in this country, that these right-wing politicians basically gravitate towards, is because really this kind of religious nationalism is a protection of the empire and an advancing of the empire's values. And those values are built upon greed, and those values are built upon exploitation. And that value is built upon definitely not sharing with others what someone has too much of, if you know what I'm saying. That's why we always jump into that whole rhetoric of the rich get richer while the poor get poor, right? Because it is not a matter of sharing the resources in a country that is as rich as the United States of America, but it's really about hoarding, and it's really about exploitation and turning everything into a commodity, even down to healthcare, down to housing. Just think, you've turned water into a commodity, right? The fact is when we talk about places in Michigan that the water was so contaminated, and if you were wealthy, you were not exposed to the contaminants in the water. But if you were working class and poor, you had no other alternative. So basically, they made water into a commodity, and everything that we have existing before us that we are relying upon for survival has been turned into a commodity. The types of things that, when you look at, for example, in I'll just point out DC, public housing in DC. Public housing in DC has been deliberately dismantled over the last 4 decades. And the argument is always interesting. The argument is, oh, we got to condemn that public housing because it's unfit to live. When in fact, what has happened is that money was not invested in public housing, and therefore it was a foregone conclusion that it would get to a place because it was not repaired, it was not upkept, it was not a part of the social fabric, not a part of the budget, and so housing became unlivable. I mean, we've watched over and over again, the battle around here is to try to make sure that people can have an ability to return back to the places, the neighborhoods, after the redevelopment happens. And of course, one of the pushes have been, if you're going to develop or redevelop, and the thing that people always talk about is sort of mixed income use, or mixed income use basically puts those that are poor at a real minority. And basically they can't come back because all types of financial structures are put in place to keep people from coming back. So it's those kinds of battles. When we look at the ecology, when we look at the issues around poverty, when we look at the issues around systemic racism, we look at really the issues around war-based economy, the military-industrial complex, as well as the prison-industrial complex. We can't shake off the relationship that each of these things have to the other. And again, who we're struggling against is the same common enemy. Those who are greedy, those who want more, and those who want to make sure that everything of survival is removed from people of color, from poor people. And the issue is that that's why we got to come together. That's what we've been trying to do in the Poor People's Campaign. is to recognize that we got to come together or we will always be used against one another. You know, I always think about that LBJ quote. I don't know if you know about that, but LBJ says if you can convince the dumbest white person that he's better off than the smartest black person, well, he'll give you the money right out of his pocket. Hell, he'll let you pick his pocket. And that's the reality. That's the way white supremacy is set up. It's to feed into people a kind of psychology that keeps them separated and keeps them divided. When the issue is, poor white folks ain't got nothing either. Poor white folks are at the whim of all of these policies that are geared towards wealthy folks. I heard somebody talking earlier about, I think one of the previous panelists was talking about the payroll protection, the payroll protection plan that was put into effect. Well, if you remember, the money was eaten up originally by all the major corporations who had resources, and they just gobbled up the money quickly off the table so that nothing was left for anybody that was small business or struggling. Because that's what, even Harvard got money to put into its endowment that Harvard proudly said it was not going to give back. Which only shows you, again, how the tables are turned, how there is a lack of equity that exists, and how we must break down the walls that separate us as poor and working folks and come together to really challenge the beast. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hagler.
Thank you much.
Thank you so much. Thank
Very,
you.
I mean, we much needed words at during this time. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is none other than Rob Robinson, and he is a lifelong activist in the housing and human rights movement in the U.S. around the globe. Rob is based in Partners for Dignity and the Right in New York City, and has been frequently ally and guest at our NAHT conference. Welcome back, Rob. Nice to hear you, and we're looking forward to hear what you have to give us today.
So thank you. Thanks for having me. I look forward to this gathering every year. I want to thank Geraldine Collins and Charlotte Rogers. I live in the same city with them, but I confess every year at the NAHT conference that I only get to see them when we all gather in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
So shame on me, but
on you.
Right. I also want to thank Michael Caine. Michael and I have worked together for a number of years, and my fondest recollection of Michael was being in an intense march in Medellin, Colombia in 2014. And as things were getting heated up and the police were out there with M16s against a group of people on motorcycles who were becoming upset with us, somebody brought Michael over to me and said, here's your friend from Massachusetts. And it just sort of calmed everything down. So I appreciate everybody at NAHT inviting me, and I appreciate the folks behind the scenes. Folks, I do a lot of the Zoom stuff, and I don't know if you know how challenging that job is. So big ups to the people working this conference behind the scenes, and I thank you. Amen. So our first two speakers, or the speakers before me, talked a lot and set the stage about policy issues, advocacy and policy, and a little bit of history from Reverend Hagler. I want to say from the outset that these conditions existed before COVID. Right? I think that's why we're all in the struggle. COVID exacerbated these issues and just sort of floated them to the top. So I want to talk a little bit about what's going on the ground and how people are doing advocacy work on the ground around the country, a little bit around the world, and then I'll talk a little bit from the perspective of the UN because there's some opportunities there. So I'm based in New York, and you heard a lot about moratoriums on evictions. I might argue with some of the folks that said, my city has the strongest eviction moratorium. We had a pretty strong one here in New York, and we started fighting on Friday, March 13th. And by Sunday, March 15th, the chief state judge in New York, we had beat him into submission until he sent us a PDF. Here's the moratorium. Can I get some rest, please? And we started sharing that with folks all over all over the state, but also I personally took it and shared it with folks around the world. You know, I work in several different countries, Brazil, South Africa, and places like that. So SERI, the Socioeconomic Rights Initiative, took it to the South African government. 2 days later, they're texting me back a PDF of their eviction moratorium. So it just shows how we can collaborate together to make social change. And this is an issue that affects everybody around the world, right? Evictions. So we had this eviction moratorium. It was lasted until June 20th. And then it was extended till August 20th. But the extension is weak. And we're fighting about the extension because it's not clearly as strong as the first eviction moratorium was. And our courts, our evictions in New York are a civil court action. The courts opened up on the 22nd, and we were in front of all of them doing protests. We had people in Queens, we had people in Brooklyn, we had people in Manhattan, we had people in the Bronx. And the chief judge again got beat into submission and extended no court business until at least July 7th, right? So you can open the doors, but there's no transaction of eviction court happening right now in the city courts, downstate at least. But that speaks to a coalition that a lot of the groups in New York are a part of, the upstate, downstate coalition, sharing information, working together. A group that NAHT is pretty familiar with, CASA in the Bronx, is I work a lot with those folks. They are part of it. Flatbush Tenants Coalition, Crown Heights Tenants Union. These are all tenant organizing groups that get on twice weekly calls to figure out tactics and strategies moving forward. Those calls have been very powerful. There's right to counsel in New York City. They fought for the right to counsel in housing court and won that victory in 2018. They are leading this fight now for an eviction moratorium. As I was on with you guys today, they were doing a training, which I missed, on eviction defense, actually surrounding people around their apartments, putting 100 people in an apartment building. You're not going to evict anybody here. Really thinking about how do we challenge the market, the marshals as a community. So that's some of the thinking here. Right to Counsel also produced on a website, and I'll put all of this in the chat once I'm done. I have a document, the worst evictors. We know who they are. We know who finances them, and we make it very public. We shame them. Just before COVID, I was up at Harvard doing a talk with one of the leaders of the legal community and the Right to Counsel, Marika Diaz, and I mentioned a Brooklyn landlord who's one of our worst evictors. And I believe it was a family member who was at that talk and got very offended that I put that family member's name out in the public. But that's what we do. That's how we're going to fight for change. These fights are also going on around the country. The Center for Popular Democracy is also organizing on a national level. And People's Action is also organizing on a national level. The ask is the same out of all of these groups. We want rent canceled. We want debt forgiven. And we want utility bills forgiven. We don't want extensions to pay. If I haven't worked for 3 months, I'm not going to be able to make that up because my job isn't one that I'm able to save. I'm living check to check. That's the average person who we're fighting for these victories. So we're demanding that this rent be canceled for the time period. I will say to you all personally, one of the ways I speak to a lot of people, I'm in a position where I can, but I'm taking a stand. I haven't paid rent since April, and I don't intend to until our governor reacts here in New York to make some change. I'm not peeing away the money. I put it in a bank account. I've set it on the side. But the landlord is not getting it until some change is made that benefits the people. And we do that because if enough people do it, and there's a cadre of folks doing it, we will see that change. There are several people on rent strikes. We have about close to 16,000 tenants in New York City on rent strikes that we know are documented from these different coalitions. And eventually that's going to collapse because, as you just heard Reverend Hagler talk about capitalism, that economic model, these landlords work off of greed and profit, and that mill has to keep churning to satisfy them. Remember, profit, I always articulate profit and equate it to a drug. You never satisfy the urge. The more I make, the more I want. So we have to stop that. Eventually, we need to change the economic model that we're living on. That's a long-term goal. So quickly, I don't want to take up too much time. I want to switch to some UN mechanisms we're using to move these issues. So the United States was supposed to go before something called the Universal Periodic Review this past May. That's where the U.S. goes before all of its peers in the UN nation states and answers to social injustice that advocates have been asking about or that other countries have been told exist in the U.S. That has been postponed till November 14th. But in advance of that, some of us, I'm a member, longtime member of the U.S. Human Rights Network, we had prepared a side event that we were going to do actually in Geneva, Switzerland until COVID-19 hit. And then we moved to online. Online, we brought together 44 missions from around the world to hear about social injustice in the U.S., including police killings, the lack of health care, affordable health care for people, the lack of housing, all of these issues. So that's going to encourage these delegates from around the world in November when they get to question the U.S., ask why. This information gets written into a report. The U.S. has to respond to that report, and then we end up with a tool for our organizing because they have to make a commitment of how they're going to undo these injustices. So there's a lot of different advocacy going on around the world, around the country, in different states and around the world, but collectively, I think we're all going in the same direction. And in the United States, that looks like canceling rent, canceling debt, canceling utilities, and just setting us up for a better situation going forward because nobody knows when this pandemic is going to end. So the $100 check did not do anything to change anybody's lives substantially. So I'll end there and say thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Rob, for your always useful insights. And we really appreciate you. And we look forward to you coming back again next year. The last speaker will be Glenn Robbins. He's the leader of the Defense Council Housing, NAHT counterpart in the United Kingdom. DCH has been leading the fight against privatization of the UK's public housing system known as council housing and wrote There's No Place, a book about US tenant movement, including NAHT. Glenn has been a welcome guest at most NAHT conferences for a decade. And Glenn has a couple of us in his book. I think Charlotte Delgado is in that book. Myself and also Charlotte Rogers is included in that book, and maybe some other people that has been with NAHT for a while is included in that book. But Glenn, we're going to give the floor to you.
Thanks a lot, Geraldine. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's 2 decades, actually, more than 2, in fact. I've been coming to NAHT conference since the last century. So it's great to be with you. And at the same time, there's something wrong. I feel very much as though I should be in DC or nearby with you all. But I suppose what that tells us is that these are extraordinary times. And we've been through a lot together, if you will, over the last decades, but nothing quite like this. And Rob was just referring to the United Nations. And I just wanted to start with a recent quote from the UN Special Rapporteur, who said that housing has become the front-line defense against coronavirus. Home has rarely been more of a life or death situation. And I think that really does sum up the importance of the situation we're in, some of which was also described beautifully by some of the people talking about their struggles locally and receiving awards. And we know the impact that the virus is having on working class communities.
Oh, yes.
And then, of course, we witnessed the lynching of George Floyd. And I think it's for us to join the dots between these issues. The poisonous link between housing and racism is something that is profound, not just in the United States, but across the world. And another friend of NAHT, Diane Yentl from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, put it very well, I think. She said recently, there's a direct line that connects America's history of racist housing policies to today's over-policing and disinvestment in black and brown communities. So I suppose that's the situation we're in, and the real question is, what do we do about it? And from the point of view of Defend Council Housing, and I hope I can persuade you on this as well, all roads really lead to a revival of public housing. Our Prime Minister is due to make an announcement tomorrow, we're told, and the headline is build, build, build. Now, we don't know what he's going to build. Based on previous experience, he's probably going to be building more profits for his friends. But we think this is a vital moment to learn some lessons from the past and actually gain some inspiration from what we've done before. And so just a quick historical overview, and in particular some examples from how we have recovered from this type of crisis before as a society, and so we can do it again. In Vienna, the capital of Austria, between 1925 and 1934, on the back of a pandemic, the tuberculosis pandemic, 60,000 public housing units were built in that decade, in that 9-year, 10-year period, most of which are still standing in excellent condition. I know Michael has had an opportunity to see some of them, I have as well. And they've left a legacy, because in Vienna today, around 60% of the population live in some form of state or public subsidized housing. Now, it would be a stretch to refer to New York City as red in the 1930s, but in 1935, First Houses was opened. It's the first, arguably, public housing development in the US. And I know that Techwood Homes in Atlanta rivals that, so I don't want to get into that controversy. But at the opening ceremony in 1935, Harry Hopkins, who was FDR's advisor, said something that I think rings down the years and across the seas. He said, private capital has never spent a dime to build a house for a poor person. And that was true then, and it's true today. And of course, New York City has a legacy of public housing that again survives, a bit like Vienna. 400,000, at least 400,000 people live in public housing in New York City, in 178,684 apartments. And I think anybody who's been to New York City, leave alone those of you who live there, would agree, I think, that it really is public housing that makes New York City the city that it is. When you talk about the diversity of New York City, partly what you're talking about is the significant layer of genuinely affordable homes that create the kind of diversity and vibrancy that New York City has. And again, this was a legacy from the New Deal, partly. During the New Deal, between 1939 and 1943, the US built 160,000 homes, 160,000 units of public housing. And the Reverend Hagler has referred to, and is quite right, the way that public housing, not just in the US, but everywhere, has been denigrated and marginalized for decades. But again, we want to see a revival of public housing because it works, and it works here in the UK. Between 1949 and 1952, again, after a crisis, the crisis of the Second World War, in this country, in Britain, 860,870, so nearly 900,000 homes were built in those 3 years. And of those, 82% were built by public authorities. So it was public housing, mass public housing. And for the 4 decades after, in this country, we always built at least 100,000, what we call council homes, a year. And we didn't have a housing problem. I wouldn't want to portray it as a utopia, but for the bulk of that period, people in this country could have a place to live. And it's not too much to ask, is it? So we want to get public housing, council housing back on the agenda. And I think it is approaching that position. And I've seen the Green New Deal and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders talking about public housing in a way that really has been inconceivable for many years. And so I just want to finish by giving you 10 good reasons why we need public housing. 1, because it is truly affordable, genuinely affordable for people on low and even moderate incomes. 2, the reason it's affordable is because it's not built for profit. It's not built for the likes of Donald Trump and his friends to make money out of. It's there to provide decent homes. 3, it also has security. It allows people to plan for their lives without the constant threat of eviction, and we need that now more than ever, particularly bear in mind what the previous speakers have referred to. 4, it can be energy efficient. We need to utilize the collective strength of public housing to improve not just the homes we already have, but build new homes that are really energy efficient. The market cannot do that. It will not do it. And we have to do it ourselves through genuinely accountable public agencies. 5, we need, and particularly resident in the US, I think, we need comprehensive repairs, we need maintenance, and we need caretaking services that provide the level of environment that working class people are entitled to. And 6, what all of that does is create jobs, and we're going to need thousands, if not millions of jobs, not just in the US, but across the world. And rebuilding council housing and public housing be a way to rebuild our economy. 7, this is all good value for money. They always say, oh, there's no money. Well, the previous speakers have already attested to the fact that, you know, if we can spend millions of pounds at Harvard, we can spend billions of pounds on public housing and council housing. And it's a good investment. You know, at the moment, interest rates are near zero. Our government should be borrowing money to invest in our communities in public housing. And 8, because public housing and council housing helps to build and sustain communities, because you don't have that constant churn, you don't have that constant anxiety. People can build their lives in public housing, in council housing. And number 9, and again, never a more important time to say this, because that kind of housing is good for people's health. The private market, private renting, Rachmanism, slumlords, that is bad for people's health. We know that. That's why we're seeing a disproportionate impact of COVID on working class communities. So we need to build public housing because it's good for our health. And then finally, number 10, because public housing is democratically controlled by us. You can't control what you don't own. And we need to have ownership of our homes. So I'm going to finish there. I think others have said it, but I'm going to add my own thought. You know, we are in for the fight of our lives. I know NAHT is very good at fighting. That's part of the reason I come back every year. I always learn something, but we're in for the fight of our lives. I don't think we should have any illusions about that. But one of the many great slogans I've learned from NAHT over the years is that when we fight, we win. So thanks very much for having me, and I'll see you next year in DC or wherever we happen to be. Thanks very much, and solidarity.
Right. When we fight, we win.
We win.
When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
you win.
We win. When we Zoom,
we're a little slow.
We get confused.
That was great. Thank you, guys. And I think Debbie's still on too, so thank you all. This was great.
Did you hear me? Someone
Yeah.
let me. Yeah, we'd just like to thank Glenn for thinking about public housing, because like I said earlier, that New York City has the largest amount of public housing, I think, in the US today, and they're about to just disappear. So thank you for that, Glenn. And I'd like to thank Reverend Hagler, Ms. Weinstein, and Rob Robinson. We'd like to thank all of you, our speakers here today, for their continuity in the fight for housing, racial injustice, and equality. And we thank you so much, and we appreciate you. And I think we are moving on to another room where we're gonna now have our membership. And
Jerry, can I make a couple of quick announcements?
Go ahead.
As we can work this in. So first, this is an experiment. It's our first Zoom conference. There have been about 80, 90 people on, 90 people almost the whole time. The next plenary session for everybody is at 6 o'clock tonight, and that's to prepare for the big meeting with HUD tomorrow. So in the registration packet, which folder, which everybody was sent a link to with the Zoom numbers, just go to there. There's a 2-page sheet that we developed over the last 3 months We sent it to HUD. It's all the issues we're going over with HUD. We're going to grill them tomorrow. So we need everybody, first of all, everybody to be on to back us up. But if you have a spot, if you know you have an agenda item or want to be a speaker, we still need people to speak to issues like waiting list abuse, like you know, unqualified contractors. There's a bunch of them. So please take a look at that. You'll see there's some gaps. And if you can help with that, there's a call tonight at 6 o'clock on this line, at 6 o'clock. So please join that. And then that's where we're going to prep for the meeting tomorrow with HUD. Okay. The workshops are tomorrow and Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday, we have a form I got to fill. The annual meeting that's coming up is only for the voting representatives. So only the people that are voting representatives of member groups and NAHT that paid their dues by the deadline yesterday are invited to that meeting. It will be live streamed for anybody else who wants to participate. So that's, I just wanted to make that announcement. So please take a look at that one pager and help us with that agenda. If we fight with HUD, we get enough people there tomorrow, we have strong speakers, we'll win there too. Thank you.
So tomorrow, everyone has, the voting reps, they know, we sent you a link out. You're gonna leave this meeting and you're gonna go into the other link that was sent out to you earlier. Okay? All the voting reps. We're about to start in a little bit. At 3:15, right, Michael? Michael? Are you there?
I'm here, I was muted. Yeah, we have 15 minutes to take a break.
So while you're taking a break, just look at your email and look at the link that was sent to you, all the voting reps.
Michael, Geraldine, Charlotte, thank you guys for the invitation. Glenn,
You're
always
welcome.
good to see you, buddy. Sorry we missed out on San Francisco.
Yeah, I was there, Rob. I'll be in touch. I think I'm coming
Don't let
to
this happen
New York
again,
next
Rob.
year.
Okay.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Everyone tomorrow, same time, 12 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
And this line.
On this
Thanks,
line.
everybody. I'm going to go and have my dinner. Good to see you.
Thank you all for
Okay,
joining.
right. Thanks,
Okay.
man.
Until tomorrow. Thank you.